Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I welcome you all back in the third session of the first module. Here we are going to discuss the learning dynamics, inshallah. Let's summarize the last two sessions before we proceed any further. And we started with discussing the importance of perspectives. It's all about perspective, which makes you decide what to think and what to do, right? We discussed on Surah Fatiha, the most recited and by all means the most important surah of the Holy Quran, which we are asked to recite at least 17 times a day, at least 17 times a day in our 17 for the Salah, in our prayers. We discussed that why the praise is for the Creator alone. And the reasons that we discussed was that because He is the creator of each and everything and all the faculties and all the systems, be they physical or non-physical, because the world is governed by systems. Our whole body, our whole thinking, our whole existence is governed by systems. And it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of all systems, all the faculties that we have. So if we are doing something, or we are doing a marvelous job, or maybe a beautiful painting, it is all because we have been given those faculties by Allah Rabbul Alameen. And as the modern psychology says, we use a very little portion of the faculties or the capabilities that has been granted to us. So in fact, we are to blame for the faculties that we are not using. Anyway, then we discussed the meaning of Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of all the systems of all the worlds. And one important thing which this surah concludes with is the prayer for guidance and the directive of what guidance is right or what is wrong. And we are told that we should not follow the ways of people who have been despised by God or who have gone astray. And many of the ulama believe that it's Ahl Kitab, the Christians, and the Jews who are mentioned over here. So we have to really reflect whose systems are we following. Then we discussed that how the systems are developed, and we saw that it is basically at the very roots is the ideology of a nation, right? And we learned that it is roots that govern the fruit. Okay, so if the roots are correct, or maybe the roots are of mango tree, then we'll get mangoes. If it is of orange tree, we'll get oranges. It will all depend upon what seed we have sown, or in other words, when we talk of system, what ideology we have developed our system on. Then we watched the fantastic trip just to realize the vastness of this universe, both outside and inside. And that was to reflect where we really stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We, irrespective of our smallness or minuteness, we have been made the best of creations, or we have been made the naib of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth. And we have been given a lot of responsibilities. But a very important thing that I wanted to communicate was, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing is big or nothing is small. So we cannot say a bigger thing is more important before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like angels, right? So we, as human beings, may be much smaller than the size of the angels, but we have been given priority over the angels. Our rutba or our status has been made higher than most of the beings that exist in this world. Then we discussed God and nature, and we clarified that nature and God are not conflicting. In fact, nature are the laws of God which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created to run the world. And one of the most important aspect of this law is that of cause and effect. Law of cause and effect. That is very important. That is the fitrah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will reap only what you sow, or in the computer terms, GIGO. That is, if you put garbage in, you will only get garbage out. We proceeded further, and we discussed about hujjah, or what is logic, right? And from our perspective, because if we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything and He's almighty, He's perfect, right? So whatever He has decreed is perfect. Whatever He has created, whatever principles He has created, they are perfect principles. So for us, the hujjah is His principles. For us, the logic is what He has said. That is but logical, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can never be wrong. Right? And that is the only secure principle to stand upon. Very important. Then we discussed the Deen and Dunya paradox, and we discussed that Deen is 24/7. We cannot leave Deen for a single second. So that means Dunya comes within Deen. Dunya is a very important part of our Deen, where we perform, and where and on which performance our akhirah will be judged. Right? So dunya is within deen. Dunya and deen are not two different entities. Antonym for dunya can be akhirah, but not deen. Then we discussed the results of following non-Muslims, and we realized that since non-Muslims have systems which are based on assumptions only and not the principles of Quran or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we are warned not to follow the non-Muslims, right? And we are told that if you follow the non-Muslims, then akhirah you'll be treated like them alone. One big confusion, which is very prevalent in the present times, is that does deen have logic? And since we discussed that we can never live outside our logic framework, whatever we hear, whatever we do, if it conforms to our logic only, that is internalized. So if we say that deen is outside logic, that means we cannot internalize deen. So it's very important to remember, logic is one of the very strong faculties which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the human being with. In session 2, we mainly focused on the dynamics of perception, how our perceptions are, what is perception and how our perceptions are developed. Perception gives us dimension. It's very important. Every human being has a dimension. You cannot avoid. You have got to have a worldview, a perceptual framework which gives you a dimension. So dimension places you at an angle from where you judge whatever is happening around. And for us, it's very important that we adopt a dimension which has been nominated by us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is basically based on Quran and nature. Then we discuss the dynamics of perception, how we prioritize, and that our actions are totally dependent on our perception or worldview. Very important, right? If we understand how our perceptions are developed and what importance they play in our conduct in this world, we will be at a very safe side. Otherwise, we will be a lost people. That is very important. And for us, the perceptual framework or perception is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to us in Quran and in nature. I mean, we develop our perception from our from the teachings of the Holy Quran, from the edicts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from the observation of nature, which are the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We discussed three theories of perception: March and Simon's perceptual model, Al-Perslan Akijing's worldview theory, the human cult theory, the theory which we discussed in quite details from the ayats of the Holy Quran, and there were many aspects that we can find in the Holy Quran regarding the qalb. Right? Qalb theory is reinforced by Quran. Very relevant ayat of the Quran on which that theory is drawn. We have a lot of them, and I had quoted a few of them which were very clear. Another warning is from the Quran itself, that the Prophet will say that my people discarded Quran, they left Quran back. Right? It's very important that our basis of our knowledge has to be from the Quran. Our roots should go inside Quran. Then we also discussed the prediction of the Holy Prophet that the time will come when the Muslims will follow the non-Muslims blindly, so much so that if the non-Muslims enter a dark tunnel, the Muslims will enter the dark tunnel too. So that's something really to reflect upon. I had introduced the famous philosopher, poet of Islam of the last century, Allama Muhammad Iqbal, and his main contention was that we Muslims have left our own principles and we are in a total awe of the West. And he warned us that if we carry the awe of the West, we will not be able to function as Muslims. It's a very important warning which I think he has given us, and we have to reflect on that.